Hello, I'm User Friendly's assistant, and I recently posted a video on Instagram with this rack thing. And had a couple requests for tutorials. This is really hard to do a tutorial on because setting this stuff up, it just takes a while and it's a lot of trial and error. But I just wanted to give kind of a quick rundown. In case you don't want to download it, you can kind of see basically how it's working. This is a Max patch. It's just sending data from this controller into Max, or into Ableton. So that's that. It sends out a couple of MIDI notes on the buttons and gyroscope, etc., etc. That's that. So that's how I'm actually controlling the patch. Inside here is just an instrument rack and some effects and things like that. I'm selecting the different sounds. So this square, that's going to be a kick and a chord. And the bass. So how this works is the MIDI controller sends out the note C1 when I hit this button. When this instrument rack, it's listening. When it receives C1, it's going to send this chord, the kick drum, and this bass. So it's always sending out just one MIDI note. And then using pitch to offset those MIDI notes to the correct note for the chord. And then I select through them with the D-pads over here. So you can see these are grouped together and they just mute and unmute when I hit these buttons. These are like gated buttons or whatever. So when I click that one, the other one turns off. When that one turns on, that one turns off. When that one turns off, that one turns on. When that one turns on, that one turns off. Something like that. Basically, just one can be on at a time. These are mapped to the same macro inside here. So you can see them changing there. It's going to be the same for anything that's playing a chord. So the bass is going to change. Basically, the note, the chord, whatever it is to stay with the music, it's all going to change because they're all tied to these same macros, and those macros are tied to these buttons. Does that make sense? The only catch with this, or like the little weird thing about it, is let's say you started making your track, so you're hitting that note, so you build yourself a C major chord. So every time you hit C1, you have a chord in there and it plays C major. If you then come down to like this one, that chord that's kind of built in here, this thing, the entire thing is going to be offset to C sharp or whatever. So you need to bring a pitch in to bring it down to the same spot that this one is at, or up to the same spot. It's kind of hard to explain without some sort of visual. But basically, these are, you need to offset where the notes land. Like this is where the chords were built. So when A1 comes out of this, that's what chord is basing its shifting off of, is A1. So essentially, anything else needs to be shifted to A1 so that the same chords, or whatever variant of them, is based off of the same note. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's how it works. Let's see, the snare is a couple of chains. So this is just 64 snares sliced up. There's a random before it. It selects a random snare every time. The kick has that as well with kicks. And the hat as well. You can see there's a bunch of hats in here. The snare, the kick, and the hat, they all have this synth hat or snare or kick or whatever underneath of them to sort of give some sort of normalcy to the sound. At the very end of the chain, there's a beat repeat. That's so like so that reverb is going to go on for a really long time. That can be really dramatic, and then grab the reverb with the beat repeat. The reverb and delay are coming on with the gyroscope, so just assigning the dry wet to a macro. The decay, yes, forward, and the delay is to the right. So the way that works is in this device, you can map both the left and the right with this top one. And then these two other buttons on either side, that's just to get the right side of the gyro or just the left side, whatever. So you actually get like 3 mappings from the gyro. So -1 to +1, -1 to 0, 0 to 1, kind of sort of deal, way to think about it. Then joysticks are assigned to a couple of different things. I don't really remember what. Yeah, that's more or less how it works. This is kind of the most important thing here, is using the key map to sort of select different instruments. So I'll go through them. So chord, bass, and a kick. If you watch right over here, you can see the little solo, unsolo things. Just a snare, just a hat. This is, I'm just using, so each one is being strummed in some direction. I guess I had an arpeggiator on here at some point. Not anymore. This is just a chord with a chopper. What else? Operator. So there's an expression control here. So, and that's before the arpeggiator. So that way it's not constantly changing every time. So this one is changing every single time that so it's sending a lot of different things out, versus this one, it just happens the first time you click it. So it's changing the style, the rate. And the rate is how hard I'm pressing. So the reason that's offset like that is because if you click this map button, you can come in and adjust how it's offset. What else do you have? This is very, very important. This is just a bunch of random sounds. So it's just to kind of give you something to sort of work off of, something weird that happens. just random arpeggiations, random noise. This is the last one, very important. Collision. This is cool. This is the first time I've ever thought to do this. What happens is I'm holding it down and it's sending a MIDI note. This increment for the expression control is just 2 steps. And it's going to go negative and positive on the strum over here on the chord. Do you see how important that random noise is? So yeah, that's how it works. Sorry I can't be more detailed. It's just kind of a lot. But you can download it if you want. It's on my Patreon and a couple other things like this. Most of them aren't quite this musical, quote unquote. They're mostly pretty glitch stuff, heavy, aggressive glitch things, but this one's nice. This entire time I was recording, I forgot that there's a whole visualizer thing going on. The visualizer is also just a little max patch that I made, and for the most part it's just getting random values. In fact, I think that's all it's getting. Yeah. But it happens anytime any MIDI note is triggered. The particle size, that actually is based off, so there's an envelope follower on the master chain that goes to the particle size. Anyway, yeah, that's all.